Welcome, welcome, welcome. May I just say Happy New Year? It is January's episode. So, welcome back to 2024's Deal Clinic Live. We have with us Tim Saunders, and Tim is our resident investor. He's been with us from the beginning, but my special guest today is Dan Morelli. Now, Dan is the specialist in the hands-off hotel strategy. So it's an exciting episode for you today. I'm really excited actually to introduce our guest. If you are watching this show on the replay, please do feel free, if you have any questions at all, to send those in to our admin team and they will happily answer those for you. That is admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk. Now, I'm so excited so basically today's episode is a little bit different. We have had agents requesting different strategies and what else that they can look at, and also what the investors are looking at as well. So with that in mind, this month is a special month. We have an expert with us, and we will be looking at hands-off hotel investments and how to profit from those. So if you do have any questions, please do ask. Now, there will be snippets of this going out to our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and the replay will be on our YouTube channel in a few days. Okay, and that is Sourcing Investments Limited. I do encourage the interaction as always, because it does help you understand actually what is on the table. And if you want to register to the platform, it is sourcinginvestments.co.uk. So without further ado, we have our regular investor here to represent you, but please do feel free to drop those questions in the chat box. But we have with us Tim Saunders, and Tim is our resident investor. He's been with us from the beginning and now co-hosts this show with myself. But my special guest today is Dan Morelli. Now, Dan is the specialist in the hands-off hotel strategy. He's actually born and bred Brazilian and moved to the US in 1995, where he worked for quite some time with a timeshare resort, but moved to London in 2014. And it's here actually that he worked in a real estate agency for a year. And he ended up managing a 15-flat building as an Airbnb, ended up renting it from them, and then that has led into more. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our special guest today, Dan Morelli. Dan, over to you.
Hi, everybody. How are you? So, guys, what would you like me to talk about first?
So Dan, I believe if you could just give the investors here and those that watch it on the replay an idea of really where your journey started, how you got into retail, how you got into hotels, and then how that's moved you into the strategy that you are using today.
Yeah, so when I arrived in London, right, 2014, I started working for this real estate agency. They had this 15-flat building in Notting Hill, London, and I was working there. It's just a regular job, just like dealing with the reservations, dealing with the cleaners and everything, running the place. And at one point, the owner of the real estate agency wanted to get rid of this business somehow. He didn't want it to get involved. He wanted to rent out with somebody else, to somebody else. And I had a great idea, but he wanted actually 60,000 pounds for it, because the rent on that place was 20,000 pounds a month. Right. It's quite expensive, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, so he wanted to rent it out. So I offered it to him. I offered him to do some non-refundable reservations for the future, for the guests, for the summer, charge them because they're non-refundable, collect the money, collect the 60,000, give me the property, and I'll just accommodate the guests in the future. That's how I got into this first deal, and I started running the place. He really liked the way I was running it. Actually, he liked the way I was paying the rent on time. Right? So he decided to start attracting more investors and giving me more properties. So at one point, in about 2 years, I was managing, leasing, and running 10 hotels.
Wow.
That was really quick until the pandemic, right? On the pandemic, we gave some of the hotels back because they were closed and my lease was expiring in anyway.
That's a
And
rapid growth though, Dan, in the space of 2 years.
That was very quick, yeah. But I was a business owner before, right? In Orlando, when I used to live there, I used to have a business for about 10 years.
Okay.
So I was used to managing like bigger operations. So for me, it was just fine to grow this quickly.
What was your business in Orlando?
So I had a graphic design agency and a sign shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was pretty successful. Very nice. My background in marketing, right? So it just, and to start with the hotels, what attracted me to this was because my daughters live in Orlando now. My mother lives in Italy. My sister in Germany. I have family in Brazil. So I was traveling all the time. So I wanted to get into real estate somehow. That's how I got into this business. I need to be everywhere all the time. So hotels were big enough for me to be able to hire staff, managers to run it for me, so I could be traveling. And I manage everything from abroad, from wherever I am.
Okay, I like that. So that sounds like you have complete location freedom, even though you are running these hotels or having others run these hotels for you. You have that location and time freedom that we all aspire to. Okay, amazing. So I think if we can look at the one of your properties, I think it would be really interesting to see what numbers you are interested in, Dan, and like how you look at, the bits, the pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, that you look at to make sure that it works for you. And just with a side note to any investors that are watching this, or even agents that are looking to go deeper into this strategy, the numbers are really key. But obviously, the numbers will depend on what the investor's criteria is. Correct? Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah,
so I believe you have 2 properties for us, Dan.
Yeah, I have. Do you want me to share the screen? I can show you.
Yes, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so this is basically because all my operation is in Brighton right now. Actually, I'm opening a hotel in London. Okay. And I can tell you about it later, but right now, because most of the operation is in Brighton, I can show you examples of that. So here we have, for example, this Westbourne Hotel, right? The property price is 1.3 million. I spoke with the seller and I found a buyer for it, which I know a few people who could do that. Some of them my landlords for other hotels. So I found a buyer. We negotiated down to 1.1 million. This hotel has 12 rooms, right? 2 spa rooms. Owner's flat was converted to an extra 3 en-suite room. So we converted this spa and flat into another 3 rooms. So we have now a hotel with 15 rooms, and it brings more value to the property, of course, the more rooms you have.
Just to let you know, Dan, apologies to jump in. We can see your Word document. I can't see your images, your pictures.
Okay, let me show you. Okay, let me show you this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is how the hotel looks right now. Like, this is not the standard we like to run these places, right? With the decoration, it's fine for their public, right? That they have right now. But once I take this over, I'm going to refurb. It's going to be modern, and I can show you how this is going to look like. Like, if you want to see some pictures of how it looks like now. And those pictures online, they always look much better
than in real life.
In this case, they look better than it is right now. But you can see it's a little bit dated. It's not modern at all. It's like there are no colors. It's just gray and white. The bed qualities are not so good.
Yeah,
Carpets
the linen
a bit of a dark and dingy sort of feel, isn't it?
Yeah, the linen doesn't look great, does it? And that's really important.
Yeah. This room here, for example, doesn't have a bathroom, and they have this area here close to the window where we're going to build a jacuzzi there.
Okay.
It's good. And we're also going to build a bathroom there somewhere.
Amazing.
All right, so what we're trying to do is to make this hotel look a little bit more colorful like this one. This is Saltwater Hotel. This is one of the hotels we manage there in Brighton. It's very close to the beach, very nice location. Sometimes we do like themes with decoration. So this one has like a pallet bed. Yeah, so this one, like with the nice wallpapers, there's like metal beds, there's foam mattresses, like memory foam mattresses. They're very nice. This is another one.
Amazing.
Yeah, so yeah, that's more colorful, more like, you know, nicer decoration, more modern. So what we do then, in case somebody's buying a hotel, we will go to the hotel and we will tell them exactly what it needs to be done. So the property gets, the property is more of a higher quality. Therefore, I can pay a higher rent to them. Because, for example, in the case of the Westbourne, the 1.1 million property, I would not pay 108,000 a year rent if the property looks like this. Because what's going to happen to me is the guests are going to go there. They're not going to like it so much. The reviews are going to be a little lower. Then when the reviews is lower, the rates go down. And then I cannot afford a higher rent. Like in the case of the Marina, for example, which has a 8.7 score, because the property looks really good, I can make 20% more revenue compared to the other property we have that's 7.7 review.
So that's really key. You've just mentioned there, because obviously we're looking at the pictures. The pictures may look, as you mentioned, the pictures may look good, but it's actually about what the quality, the style will bring you as the landlord. So you as the renter, it's almost like you're doing a rent-to-rent hotel, isn't it? Really,
Yeah, it is.
Rent-to-rent hotels. So it's really looking at what's working. It's not about what we prefer and what we like from a style perspective, but actually what's going to serve those clients, what is bringing the best ROI from a rental perspective, because that's really key, that what you've just mentioned there, Dan, about that increase.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very, very good to see that the idea of where you're going with the refurbs, it fits very nicely into the location of the hotel, which is right next to the beaches. It gives it's a holiday vibe. It's a happy sort of sunny vibe compared to the sort of darker and more older feel that the hotels are at the moment.
Yeah, and Brighton is a very alternative place. You know, there's the decoration we do has a lot to do with the Brighton vibes. I don't know if you've ever been to Brighton, but this is what you get when you go there. Very alternative, very colorful. You know.
Yeah. It's a very upbeat environment, isn't it? It's not. So the images that you showed of the property Westbourne that you've purchased, that you're refurbing now, that would be very standard maybe if we went into somebody's home. But actually, when we go away on holiday, we want to have that different feel, that different vibe, feel like we've broken away from the norm, from the mundane, in order to have that. And I think that's really important that you've mentioned that actually it's about what's working in that location and not necessarily what we as an investor would like to decorate maybe our homes as.
It is. Yeah, the decoration, it's for the guests. Like I would not do, like, for example, this type of decoration in my house.
Yeah. Of course.
But for the guests, they love it, right?
Yeah.
It's getting away to an upbeat place, as you say. It's an upbeat
Yeah.
place, and just being able to increase the room rate by £5 a night or something like that has a massive knock-on effect.
Exactly.
Excuse me, in terms of the bottom line revenue, because that is multiplied exponentially, right?
Yeah, yeah. And because we are able to help the landlord, the buyer, the investor, with the refurbs and the decoration, that will immediately make the property more valuable, and you will allow them to charge me a higher rent and make more money.
Mm.
Sure.
Like if you just buy a hotel and you don't know nothing about the business, and you say, which actually happened with one of my landlords. I met him the first time he bought a hotel, and he was refurbishing and decorating, and it was not looking good. And and then I arrived and said, well, if you change this, if you paint this color, if you change the carpets to this other carpet, I'm gonna be able to pay you more rent. Then he started making more money because of this. So that
Brilliant.
really helps.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
So how are we looking on the sort of timeframes and things like that for this one? Have you got an overview of where you're at in the process at the moment, and the timescales for getting the renovations done?
Well, the renovations are going to be done in about 2 months. It's predicted 1 month, but you know how this goes.
Indeed, especially with the great British weather. So, Dan, I'm just intrigued because we have another property as well, but both your properties are in Brighton.
Yeah.
Any particular reason? And the reason I'm asking this is to give the insight. So I'm really looking at picking your brains from an insight perspective, so that those agents that emailed in and that have been requesting, like, what else can we look at? It's really to help them have that stepping stone, really, to enter into this, or to even just start thinking about it. And also investors to have that consideration of what things to keep an eye out for if they decide to invest in hotels. So why Brighton for yourself?
Brighton was just it just happened because the first agency I worked for in London, they were buying hotels everywhere. So Blackpool, Manchester, London, and then they started buying in Brighton. And then I didn't want to manage anything that was too far, like Blackpool. So when they bought it in Brighton, they offered it to me. I just traveled to Brighton. It was like an hour and a half. I was like, yeah, this is close by enough. And they were going to buy 4 hotels there. And with 4 hotels, I'm able to afford a manager, so I don't need to be there. So that's what happened. So they bought 4 hotels. I rented from them. I hired a manager, and I just happened to fall in Brighton like that.
Amazing.
Like I didn't choose or anything, but then I saw the potential of it and how the summer goes, and the summer is really profitable. The winter is like a break even, but the summer is really profitable, really nice. So I really enjoy being in Brighton. So I'm always looking for properties there to rent or lease. One of these properties is a lease. I didn't rent it. I bought the lease from the previous owner.
Okay.
Which is the marina, this one.
That's actually leads on to one of my questions, actually, which would be the sort of background of the people that are owning them and how they came to be. Have you got any info on the people that you've acquired them from, and what they were doing with them before?
Yeah, usually these hotels owners in Brighton, they are usually couples running the hotel themselves. So the hotels, they always come, when you find these properties, they always come with the basement flat where they live, and it comes with a breakfast room, which is, and then it has a kitchen because that's their kitchen. They cook breakfast for everybody. So these owners, they're looking for a lifestyle. So they bought these properties years ago because they wanted to, you know, live like this glamorous lifestyle by the beach, and they live and work on the same place. Is really easy, and they have their own business. Then a few years later, they find out like they're just working too much, because to run a hotel yourself like that is just like a lot of work. Like, you cannot have a holiday. Like if you're going to have a holiday, you have to close the hotel. the previous owner of this hotel, they were closing it every Monday because they want a day off. So
Okay.
so 52 weeks, 52 days a year, they're closed, and so they're losing like a lot of revenue there. So this is the type of hotel owner you will find when you're buying these properties. They're retiring usually, like most of the time, or they're tired of like just working too much.
And that sounds like a tiring occupation to have, of what you mentioned, to have to close on a Monday in order to have that day off. So with regards to Dan, because you mentioned your lifestyle in the beginning, with your family dotted all over the world, obviously you have that time and that free location freedom. What is it that you are, if any investors or agents are looking at getting into this strategy, what kind of numbers do you look at when you're considering these types of deals?
Well, usually these properties in Brighton are running from like 1 million, 1.5 million. There are properties in London, of course, there are the properties I used to have there, they're from 3 to 6 million. That's the price of the property. For me, I am interested in properties that have more than 15 rooms, because for less than that, I cannot hire like a staff to take care of it. If it is a small property, unless of course you're buying two properties close by.
Yeah.
And they have like 10 rooms each, so that's fine. So over 15 rooms, if it's a city hotel such as London, Brighton, we don't need a breakfast room. We don't need to have the restaurant. We just convert everything into rooms and sell the rooms, and the rooms are much more profitable than breakfast.
Okay.
So if it has the potential to build more rooms, the investor will get more rent. They just need to build more rooms, and I'll pay a higher rent because I make my calculations per room for the rent I'm going to offer.
Just
So
with regards to, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be in London or Brighton. There are other cities people can invest and I can manage it. If it has more than 15 rooms and the hotel looks really nice, I can hire people and manage it from like in any city. Like there's a Bath, which is a really nice city right now, Oxford. I like the small touristic cities. So
that's a very good point on Bath. There's a huge tourist attraction. Bath is very sought after in terms of hotels, in terms of having small staycations and things for especially tourists as well. Bath's on the tourist hotspot list.
And it's really difficult to find hotels there. Like they're never for sale.
Yeah, they're like gold dust, aren't they? So Sam's just put in the chat box there, Windsor. Windsor, really good. And I think
Windsor,
just
very good.
Windsor's good. Yeah. Sorry, Tim, did you have any questions from an investor's perspective there? Sorry, before I interject.
I'm just sort of thinking down the refurb route and things. When Dan's talking about the work that's been done, could you give us a bit of an overview in terms of the types of criteria that you would have to follow, the any legislations that you've got to keep up with, let's say fire doors, for instance, and anything that is of note for both agents and investors to look at when they're, let's say, finding a property that could work for this? What are the key things that would work in terms of what's there already and would save them cost?
Yeah. Usually these hotels, when you buy them, they already have everything like ready, such as fire doors, as I mentioned. They have to be compliant with the fire risk assessment and everything. They have to have the electrical certificates, the gas certificates, everything has to be running smoothly. And so before you buy the hotel, obviously you have to take a look and find out if all these things are in good order, because you were going to spend money on refurbs to fix them. One of the hotels is the example. It's Upper Rock. Actually, I stopped sharing, but I can show you later. Yeah, Upper Rock, they bought the hotel and they just found out they need to change the whole plumbing system for the ground floor, because the previous owner was building something there that it was not correct.
Mm.
So they made an offer to the hotel, it was accepted, and then they found out later that they had to change this whole plumbing system on the ground floor, and it's going to cost them about 60,000.
Right. And
Yeah.
this is Upper Rock that you mentioned. You can take us to Upper Rock. I'm interested about Upper Rock because you mentioned about 15 rooms, but this has 14. So I just
Yeah.
wondered why you went with this one, why you broke your criteria guideline.
Because we already run 4 hotels in Brighton, and they're all close by.
Right.
So in
Okay.
Brighton for me right now, it doesn't matter if you have 9 rooms, 10 rooms, it doesn't matter because I already have my manager there
Mm.
and the staff, the cleaner. So, and it's not, and it's in the same neighborhood, all of them. So we can manage all of them there. But if I'm going to start moving to another city, then I would need a minimum 15-bedroom hotel there. I'm sure.
Okay.
Makes complete sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's to do with your management costs that you would deduct from the revenue that you would be receiving. So it makes you make sure it's profitable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. So with regards to that, then Dan, do you have almost like a formula that you look at? You know, as agents, we look at things, don't we, whereby if it's HMO, how much rent that HMO is generating per room, you know, what the outgoings are. Is it very similar? I'm just trying to ask questions that maybe an agent that has never done this before or is transitioning from buy to let to this type of strategy would need to know.
I do have a formula, but my formula works to find out how much I'm going to pay on the rent to the landlord.
Right.
So this part of the analysis, it's more on my side, and then I present to the buyer, this is how much I can pay rent, and usually the buyer makes their own calculations. In this case, I'm aware of how much they pay for the property. Some properties I just started renting, and I don't really know how much they paid for the property. I don't know what's their return there. But on this one, because I put the buyer and the seller together, and I know more about it, so I can say that their return on investment is about 9.15% there.
Okay.
This is brilliant. This is great. I'm really intrigued by this because it's a win-win for everyone. You've got a completely hands-off investment for the owner, for the investor that's got a very good asset, something that's making very good money. It's being kept to a high standard. It's being kept up. It's conforming to all the legislations, licenses, and things like that. And you obviously are taking a lot of pride in your work with what you do because you're keeping the rooms to a spec. You're working on the reviews that you get from your guests, so it means that you want to make sure that everything is kept to the highest standard, so you can get more money, you can get more money coming in, you can keep the owner happy, you keep the guests happy, and your wallet's happy as well. So I really like this where you fit in this sort of this puzzle because it's definitely a win-win for everyone around.
Yeah, I have great staff, and they have very high standards. And my manager, the operations manager, she has really high standards when it comes to the refurbishments and on how to treat the guests and everything else. And it is a win-win because the investor, like if the investor is putting his money on residential property, it's different because the tenant is not going to do these things for you, right? You have to do everything. You have to hire a management agency to deal with everything, and you have to pay your 15% management fee to the agency, and which is also something that they're going to save if they're buying hotels, is on the agency fees, right?
Yeah. It's I mean it's perfect because the owner knows exactly the rent that they're going to get every month, and they don't have to do anything. There's no worries whatsoever about it. So I've got a small Airbnb and Booking.com flat up in Scotland And yeah, it's doing very well, but it is a constant hassle keeping on top of the guest reviews, making sure the small details are looked after, the cleaning staff know when to come in and get there, and small things like a lock breaking, for instance. I'm not in Scotland, so I'm similar to you. I'm managing it from a distance, and it becomes more difficult when you're sort of torn between that and other things going on, whereas this is something you're fully focused on, and you can make sure that it's the utmost priority for these things to get sorted. So no, I'm really intrigued by this.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we get new properties, the same step we have right now, they're going to just start working with the new properties. Sometimes if it is reception, I don't even need to hire more people because they can absorb 15 more rooms right now and just deal with all the communication and everything. I also have 5 Airbnbs and in Brighton and opening 2 in Italy right now.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, and in Italy, I'm hiring an agency there.
So you really know your stuff. You've obviously you've been around the block a few times with this, so you know exactly the key things to look out for, what to look out for with the people that you're employing, the contractors, a high-end cleaning company. I presume you use a linen company as well, where the linen gets taken away and professionally dry cleaned.
Yeah, I do use a linen company.
Yeah.
Yeah, in London there is a different linen company that's going to be in Brighton. And yeah, they do everything. Like I don't need to wash. I don't need to have a washing machine or anything like that. I used to have in one of the hotels in London. We used to wash our own linen, but it's really complicated. It's not good. It's not the same quality even.
It's a very difficult task, as you say, the quality, because they're pressed there, and that just that extra little detail makes such a difference. Having pressed sheets compared to slightly creased sheets that have been through obviously a domestic washing machine rather than an industrial setup that the larger companies have makes such a big difference.
And once I grow this business big enough, I can have my own linen company.
Amazing.
That's great. That's great.
Right, I've got a question from Sam. So Sam has basically said in the chat that he has an outstanding opportunity in Windsor, opposite the castle, 2.5 million visitors a year, ripe for a boutique hotel. It was a HSBC bank on the high street, and he wants to know, have you got any tips regarding setup and room and rent structure?
Bonnie, sorry, it's got broke up a little bit. Can you say it again? It was breaking up a little bit.
Yes, I'll repeat. So basically, Sam has, he's mentioned he has an outstanding opportunity in Windsor. It's right opposite the castle. So 2.5 million visitors a year. Really great potential for a boutique hotel. He said that it was the HSBC bank on the high street, but he wants to know if you have any tips on setting up and room and rent structure.
Yeah. Do you know how many rooms they have right now in this place?
If you could type that in the chat box for me, that would be amazing. I'll just find that out for you.
It might even be worth, I don't know whether you're in a position where you can, Sam. It might be worth unmuting and telling us a bit about it.
Hi, guys.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Sam. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Hi there. It's a pleasure to come on to this webinar and to speak to you all. I'm really enjoying the conversation. Of course, I know we've met before on the phone, obviously, but it was just, I saw this and it came through the email, and I thought, let's jump onto this webinar. And it's already proved to be very valuable and interesting. So I've never been in the hotel business before. I'm a professional commercial development person, so that's all I do. I turn offices into residential, and I buy crappy buildings and I turn them into nice buildings. So I live in Windsor, and so I do little bits projects there. However, at the moment we're buying banks, and because banks are closing down and they're disposing, there's a large disposal of banks at the moment. So we've come across this one, which is the HSBC Bank on the High Street in Windsor. So the bank has been purchased, and it is ripe for a 10-bedroom boutique hotel.
Okay.
As one does, we've done a little bit of due diligence in terms of local room rates, well, you know, and also the popularity and the significance of, you know, how busy could this hotel project be. But it's a no-brainer. I'll be living in Windsor for most of my life, and you know, with Ascot Racecourse up the road, the International Wentworth Golf Tournament, with you know, the castle, which is less than a stone's throw away. The town attracts 2.5 million visitors a year. Other countries, prime ministers, senators, weddings, you know, congressional celebrations. So we were thinking to turn this into a boutique hotel with a fantastic cafe on the ground floor, or all of it into a boutique hotel.
Right.
Alternatively, we was thinking to convert this into one of these self-contained, like really simplistic, like they do like this easy hotel thing. But we're thinking that that type of model of business may not work in that type of area. So I just wanted to get Dan's view on something like this, and also we're thinking of renting the property out, and all of it, so that somebody else can come along, just pay us the rent, and just build a hotel out, and you know, for a long lease term. So those are the two options there. I just wanted to get your view.
Yeah. Windsor is a great city. I was actually looking for hotels there before. Couldn't find it, but yeah, it is great, especially if your hotel is central.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you actually wanted to build a cafe there, but is the cafe going to be open to the public?
Do you know what? At that there is two large hotels next to this bank. Yeah, and there's also one or two cafe. You know, cafes, place like Windsor, there's lots of cafes. But you know, this location is you know, it's so unique and rare that if, you know, we opened a cafe there, and I'm a cafe startup entrepreneur. I've started up cafes for various people, and I've done it for myself for over 15 years. So I can fairly say, you know, I kind of like, I know my eggs and bacon, as they say, you know, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it would be an option to open the cafe on the ground floor. Why? Because it would bring in a significant income.
Yeah, if the income from the cafe is higher than the income from one or two rooms you were going to have there,
Yeah.
it's worth
The
it.
only thing is, Dan,
It all depends on your calculations.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So you'd maybe have two businesses in there. You'd have obviously the boutique hotel and the cafe on the ground floor.
Yeah. You can offer breakfast to your guests
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So because it's a city hotel, personally, I would not. It depends on the space. If it's instead of the cafe, I can build 2 or 3 extra rooms.
Yeah.
Revenue potential there may be bigger. The profits may be also higher.
Yeah.
It all depends on the calculation of how much we are going to get on a nightly rate there in Windsor. If you're getting like £100 per night, and then you're occupied 85% of the time. And winter is, you're probably not going to have a super high and super low season like Brighton. It's more all year round. So if you get your 85% occupancy, you probably can make what, 25 to 30,000 a year per room. So you have 2 rooms there, you would make like £60,000. Like, is the cafe going to make £60,000? Then you make this calculation and see whichever is best. And obviously also the rooms, they will require less people to run.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, Sam, I've just muted you there because of the way that this will get edited, but I think it's important to remember that Dan is talking about a strategy, and as I said at the beginning of the call, it really depends on what the investor's criteria is as to what numbers will be applied. So when Dan is doing his due diligence and calculating with his formula, as he mentioned, he really looks to see what he can then present to the investor himself, so to the owner, of what he will be paying from a rental perspective, and then he then sublets the hotel out. And so it's really looking at then for yourself, because I appreciate what Dan is explaining here, but he's not giving advice. And so it is really looking at your strategy, your criteria, your investment capabilities, and where you are with that and where you want to take those, as to where you would then apply those markers for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in regards to this property, like we would have to take a look at it and see what's the state of the rooms, like how they look like, how the decoration is, because that interferes on the price like immensely.
Which is what
And
you
it's-
mentioned about, sorry, Tim, which is what you mentioned about taking that Westbourne property, and although it looks very slick, it was the quality of the linens, but making it more fun, because that is actually what the holiday makers want, and reading and understanding the market and the clients.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was going to say, that Windsor, I presume, is a very different client base from what you would get down in Brighton. And so when you spoke about the easy hotel kind of idea, I presume the people that are going to Windsor are not necessarily looking for that type of accommodation, and they'd be looking for something that's a little bit more, probably a little bit more like what Westbourne is before the refurb, because it is a different type of vibe compared to what Brighton would be. So just slicking up what would already be there from that perspective.
Yeah, in London, for example, there's this place we are opening next to Canary Wharf, and it's a business place. So we are decorating all the rooms business-like, using like a black and gray.
Yeah. Actually, this brings me nicely onto a question that I had. Have you ever come across needing to deal with licenses or change of use planning permission with these? And what type of sort of category that you look for when you're finding these deals? And have you had any issues with changing planning permission and things like that?
I never had this. Like all the properties we get, they already have C1 license, which actually was a question for the Windsor place I had, because it was a bank before, and I'm sure you would have to have a C1 license there to run the hotel.
It already is a C1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's important. So, yeah, I always got all the properties, they had previous C1 licenses.
Yeah, it's already a C1.
Yeah. So with this, the due diligence there with these properties, they're always, when you buy them, if they're a running hotel, they're most likely going to have like everything ready on this aspect.
Well, and then do you use specific sites? Obviously, you've got booking.com up. Do you use Airbnb as well? Do you use Agoda? Are there sort of other areas that you use?
Yeah, I use everything. I use Airbnb, Expedia, booking.com, VRBO. There's Agoda, because Agoda belongs to booking.com anyway. And we have about 10-15%, depending on the hotel, with direct bookings, which is my focus. In this business, we cannot depend too much on this online travel agencies.
Yeah.
Because they end up running your business.
So do you have your own sort of direct booking landing page and things like that then as well? You've got set up where people can find you, they search hotels in those areas.
We have a whole marketing strategy set up for that. Oh, sorry.
Brilliant.
So Dan, out of curiosity, sorry, go on. I think we've got a delay on the.
Yeah, sorry, the call quality dropped a little bit.
It's okay. Were you going to say something?
Your question about how I do the marketing with my landing page and for direct bookings?
I think that was Tim's question. Tim, was that your question? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just finding out if you did have a landing page and sort of what traffic you get from the landing page versus the booking.com sites.
Yeah, I do have a landing page, and you can book directly from there for all the hotels. You can choose the hotel you want and book it. We also do a lot of social media marketing, and we do email marketing to our existing guests so they can come back and book direct. Booking direct is super important, to be honest. We just don't pay. It's not only the commission that we don't pay to Booking.com and Airbnb. It's you just become more independent when you do that. The more direct bookings you have.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And that, sorry, Bon. Just one quick one then. Oh no, it's completely gone. Carry on.
I was going to ask, with regards to having those direct bookings there, Dan, is that because you're able to then control and hold your own data for your own client base? Because that's super important as a business, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm planning to get over 25% of my bookings direct. Right now it's 10 to 15%, and it's really hard because we have to compete with Booking.com. Because Booking.com is everywhere. Like even guests who want to book direct, they say, no, I'm going to book to Booking.com because they are more reliable or something, like the
like
guarantee,
a trusted provider.
Trusted, yeah. So we are really competing with them. So we have to be really creative when you're in the hotel business and you want to have direct bookings. We've now, for example, we do marketing for influencers. So one of the hotels, the Saltwater Hotel, we are advertising for influencers. Like if you are an influencer, you have an Instagram account and you have like 10,000 followers, you can go to the hotel and we will give you a discount based on the amount of followers you have. So we are attracting people this way to book direct. So I don't mind the discount. It depends on, like they have 1,000, they get like £8 off. If they have like 10,000, they have a £50 off, like a free night or something.
I love it. I love the creativity behind that. So with regards to the 2 properties then that you are currently refurbing, did you say that it would take approximately a month?
Yeah, the people refurbishing it, they said 1 month.
Okay.
But it's really, it never goes like that. It's probably going to be 2 months, and we'll start probably mid-March, something like that.
To start
because
putting the
beginning
room
of high
down.
season. Yeah.
Sorry,
Amazing.
apologies.
Yeah. So I presume then at that point, does the owner, when you're doing the refurb, does the owner get a say in what you're putting in and the type of taste you're doing? And then after that, it completely goes to you, and then you're taking control from that point.
Yeah, after the hotel's ready and refurbished, we just would take control, and we're responsible for all the maintenance.
Brilliant. So I presume then for you, if you're being able to take a lot more direct bookings and then you're doing all this marketing to influencers, then if you're getting more bottom line revenue, then you can increase the rent that you're able to pay to the owner, so the owner's happy, and it's like a nice snowball effect.
In this case, if I'm paying less commission to Booking.com, it's not really less in the end, because the money I'm spending on marketing, people, agencies, like social media agency and everything, in the end, it's not going to be 15% like Booking.com, but it's going to be 10, 12% I'm going to spend to get those direct bookings. So the direct bookings is not so much about the savings that you will have. It's more about having control of your guests and cancellations and credit cards and everything, and having control of your business. Because if Booking.com changes their algorithm and suddenly somebody there decides, oh, Daniel is going to be now on the 3rd page, and start getting less bookings there because somebody decided something. That's the reason why we do direct bookings, is to get more independence, because they cost about the same to get. And I'm not going to pay a higher rent if I have all direct bookings.
Dan, I've just got, this is actually more on a business owner's perspective of being on holiday, because obviously, you're working in the hotel industry, you run these hotels, you understand standards, expectations of what a particular hotel will be delivering. How is it when you go away and you stay in a hotel? do you, because surely it must be an automatic, instinctive thing now that when you're away and you're in a hotel, you look at things, whether it be in a positive or a negative, like look at things and maybe influence and think, oh, great, I could take that and maybe adapt something that you already have in one of your hotels already. But from a service perspective and a quality perspective, are you able to actually switch off when you go away? Are you constantly ticking over and thinking, wow, my God, I wouldn't allow that in any of my hotels?
I never switch off. I don't have holidays. I have like research trips. That's what I call it. Because I'm traveling, I'm going to different hotels and everything. I'm researching everything. Oh, this guy I went to Orlando and I stayed on Airbnb there. They had a check-in tablet on the wall, and the check-in has, oh, you can buy tickets for Disney here. You can buy everything, press and check in. Like, wow, you can do everything here and then find everything about the neighborhood. It's a great idea. I'm gonna install it in my hotels. People arrive, they're gonna have a little tablet. They can check in. They can talk to the reception. It's a great idea. For winter, if you're listening, it's also a good idea. If you don't want to have a reception, you can have the check-in tablet.
Amazing.
So I'm always researching. Because my mom is in Italy, daughter is in Orlando, sister in Germany, and I'm always traveling, and we travel by car, so we stay in hotels all the time, finding out what's good, what's bad, how the service, how they treat you.
There's constant feedback, isn't it? That's amazing. And I love what you said, that you don't switch off and that it's research. I love that.
Yeah, I even have a post about this. This is another one of my research trips. I'm going to Italy, driving to Italy.
Because as entrepreneurs and business people, I don't think we ever do switch off, really. I don't think we ever do. So I love that. So I'm going to thank you for your time. If there's anything else that you wish to add, Tim, do you have any other questions as the voice of our investors?
Just a couple of quick points. Firstly, Dan, it would be great to get connected. Bon, if you could share the link for connecting with Dan, that would be brilliant. Dan, I've got I see your scratch map on the back of your door. I've got one just the same, going around to make sure we get around the world.
Yeah.
And also, Sam, I see you've got the BNI logo in the background. So I was part of BNI for quite a while when I was in South Africa building my property business. So good on you for being part of BNI. That's great. And yeah, nothing else for me, but thank you very much for your time, Dan.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. I'm just going to drop Dan, is that okay if I drop your email in the chat box? Bear with me 1 second.
Sorry, Sam, I think I cut you off. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that is. I'm at the the BNI, the UK headquarters here. So they've launched a member success team here. So we're working over here with them for a little while. So yeah, it's exciting time. So if you ever need any help in networking or anything on that front, any support or anything, by all means, contact me. Happy to put my email in the chat box, no problem.
Yep, please do drop your email in the chat box, Sam. That would be lovely. And with that, I would love to sign off. As always, thanking all my guests. Thank you, Sam, for attending live.
Thank you very much.
I'm also going to thank our resident investor, Tim. You always here and help me out. I really do appreciate co-hosting with you. And for this month, hotel specialist here, Dan Morelli. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, learning about your background, but also your insights and your really the how you just took on that challenge in that first year in your real estate agency and just literally ran with it, and you've run really, really well. I'll be intrigued to see how you get on, how you move forward with this. I think it's something that's going to really pick up speed, to be honest with you. So I'm really excited to hear about it.
I'll keep you guys updated.
It'll be amazing. And with that, to all of our guests who watch on the replay, as mentioned before, if you have any questions, if you'd like to connect with Dan, please do feel free to reach out to us at admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next month. That's this month's Deal Clinic Live. Bye for now.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you,
Take care.
gentlemen.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye, guys. Thanks.